Hiya guys, Mark here on Celtic Crossbows. We're doing a little one this week on bolts and their uses and what they're used for and their limitations. I've had a lot of bolts returned lately from eBayers with a little or no knowledge of what bolts should be used for. So we're going to go through the range now with Steamboat and some of my bolts to explain their limitations. Obviously some of you mature shooters who've been shooting for a long while, like me, over 40 years, will know that the light alloy bolts are for soft targets only, like the sponge targets. These practice bolts used with anything else other than a soft target will bend, damage, the heads will come out, the tails will come out. It is a cheap throwaway bolt. People say, oh, it shouldn't happen. Yes, it does. Once a bolt is used, it is classed as spent, like any form of ammunition. Some of you cry, oh, I've never heard of this. Go to all the forums and they will tell you. But once a bolt is used, it can be repaired and used again. So if the head comes out, you simply glue it back in and reuse it. So the next line of bolt up is your heavyweight target points with a blue band, etc. These are used for the bolts of bows with a 90 to 120 pound limb. So anything under 90, you use your standard alloy. 90 to 190 and over to 150, you use these ones. The reason being is if you use too light a bolt in a high draw limb, the extra strain will cause the bow limb to crack or split. So we got the next one then, bodkins. And now these are heavyweight bodkins, the same again for the 90 to 150 pound limb, preferably 120 to 150, and these are for use against things which are armour plated. For example, if someone's wearing a Kevlar vest, something like that, they to a point because that's the designed for to get in through. The next one we're going to look at is broadheads, lightweight and heavyweight. Again, the lightweight for bows under 90 pounds, the heavyweight for ones 90 and over, preferably 120 to 150. Is an arrow-headed design. This is designed for penetrating heavyweight skin, like deer, antelope, that sort of thing. I wouldn't use a 90 pound limb by any means at all against something as big as a stag. I wouldn't use nothing less than something about a 250 pound bow, using something like a 350 grain bolt from a full size crossbow. The weight of the draw is dependent on the length of the draw and the size of the limb. So a 150 pound crossbow with a 28-inch span will give out more foot-pounds energy than a 150 pound draw with a 12-inch span. It will give out double the energy because it'll have double the draw, double the width. Although the energy to pull it back may be the same, the length of acceleration down the shaft of the barrel will be higher. So a 150 the 12-inch limb will put out something like 32 foot-pounds, but 150 with a 24-inch draw would put out round about 75-80 foot-pounds. Okay, so this brings our end to the heavyweight war bolts, so-called. It's a marketing exercise more than anything else. They are extremely heavy broadhead and they are used for knocking into wood, etc., things like that. But not at close range. You wouldn't use a 150 pound draw on these at 10 meters. What will happen is the shock energy will come down through the shaft, crack the carbon fibre, and destroy your expensive bolts. These are still used for something like 30 meters or more range. Which brings on nicely to the next bit, which has got on my tit somewhat. Okay, as you guys know, I do historical reenactment. This is one of my bolts. Perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it, completely handmade. This is around about 225 grain, used with a 300 pound draw on a medieval arbalist crossbow. This is one of my 330 grain bolts were used for the 120 to 150 pound steamboat. Now, if I was to fire one of my medieval bolts at a solid target, this is what will happen. It splits, as you can see there, because the shock energy transmits up the shaft to the grain of the wood and shatters it. The same happens with carbon weave. This is why I fit the anti-burst collar, otherwise the shock energy drilled into a wood target at less than 30 yards will shatter the shaft up the length. Is why I fit the anti-burst collars. Now that energy has to dissipate and go somewhere, so when the head lodges into the target, you pull it out, it's designed to stay in the target. This is a true war bolt. Say with one of my war bolts, these are designed and fitted with beeswax, so when they enter the target, it stays in the target. This is how traditional war crossbow bolts are designed, and I do the same in mine. Once he's entered the target, they are designed to stay in the target. They're installed with araldite. These are incredibly hard, but once they hit bone or anything like this, they're designed to stay in the target. What good is a bolt such as when the practice bolts, you shoot somebody with that, it goes in and then you just pull it out and carry on attacking you in your house? That's what these are for. Once they're in, they're in. You will need hospital treatment and the police will be able to find them. Okay, so when people return these to me on eBay and say they are faulty, they're not. They do exactly what they are designed to do. And the thing is, with all bolts, they tell you a truth. If you've been using your bolts and find them at a nice soft target, which normal people do in practice, the tips don't become bent. They don't leave telltales where it's been sunk into wood. Again, it's damaging the serrations on the side there. And I can see on the blade here, again, where it's been sunk into quite a meaty target. And I would say, going by the depth of that, it was at a pretty close range as well. Now for you guys who've been watching the channel know, if I fire these bolts at 10 meters or less with a 35 pound limb, these will cut straight through an archery mat and dig into the 1-inch chipboard behind. So these, fired from a 150 pound limb and nailed into a wooden target, the shock energy will break any glue that's in there. So I know these have been fired from less than 20 meters and with more than 120 pounds. So please guys, if you're going to use the bolts, use them for what they was intended for their specific purposes. Because the upshot of it is, I've now lost £100 to somebody who didn't actually know what the bolts are for. So people, if you're buying these bolts, make sure you know what you're buying them for and the purpose they are intended for. These are designed for one thing and one thing only: to absolutely stop an attacker or somebody who's invading your home, and you've got absolutely no other option than to use these in a high power crossbow. These are not practice bolts. They're not designed to be used over and over and over. These are designed as a lethal weapon. And if you are incapable of actually using them in the intended way, please don't buy them from me, because you're wasting my time, my money and resources for other people that actually do want to buy them. Thanks, bye bye.